Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Calvin Tobin Show. I am your host, Calvin Tobin. Today we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. Alright, last night we had the Edmonton Oilers taking on the San Jose Sharks in a lopsided game. For Edmonton, they are on the front end of a back-to-back, and they came out with a victory in this game, winning 3-0. And with this victory, they are starting to look how they should have been all season long, because they have won 7 out of their last 10 games and have notched their 25th win of the season. And throughout this entire game, Edmonton completely shut down San Jose, as they only allowed San Jose to get off 20 shots in this game. And this really helped out their backup goalie, Stuart Skinner. And as of recently, the Oilers did just fire their head coach, David Tippett. Now, hopefully they are able to find new leadership as quickly as possible, because this dominance without a head coach can only last for so long. Now, as for San Jose, this was their first game back in 2 weeks, and they had an absolute rough return because they had multiple open shots that they didn't take. Their defense wasn't backtracking fast enough, even though that Edmonton is known for their speed, and at the same time they just could not secure the puck. But it's completely reasonable, because as for any team going a while without playing any games, you can only perform so well when you don't play for so long. Now, with Edmonton, I'm hoping that they can keep this dominance up, because they're the type of team that should not have a near 500 record, especially with how dominant Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Mikko Koskinen have been all season to their best of their ability. And sometimes the coach is not it, and it can only be so good without a head coach and with an interim head coach as well. But I'm hoping that they can find that new coach as quickly as possible and get that new leadership, because even the best players can only be so dominant without the right leadership. And with the right leadership, they can definitely get back on track and be dominant and get back to their winning ways. Now, speaking of leadership, one of Las Vegas Golden Knights' biggest leaders, goalie Robin Lehner, has unfortunately torn his labrum, and it happened in practice. Now, with this injury, Marc-Andre Fleury is actually thinking about coming back to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. How cool would that be? The original 2 goalies on the new expansion team that happened all the way back in 2017, that got all the way to the Stanley Cup too. Maybe, just maybe, because Jack Eichel is also making his debut tomorrow night. And if Marc-Andre Fleury comes back to this team, there is a huge chance, and maybe they both can help the Las Vegas Golden Knights get back to the Stanley Cup and get their first cup in their franchise history. And it will be within the first 5-6 years, and that hasn't been done in such a long time. And also, speaking of trading, the 49ers are really trying to push Jimmy Garoppolo out the window, because they are trying to trade him before March 16th, and that's only a month from now. So based on this, that either shows that they are trying to go draft a new quarterback, or they have an insane amount of trust in Trey Lance. But there are 3 quarterbacks, and I've talked about this all week, there are 3 quarterbacks that are in the midst of where they could all go to a new team. Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, or Russell Wilson. Maybe the 49ers are able to pull off something like that. But if that's not the case, they have kind of, in my opinion, a little bit too much trust in Trey Lance, if that's the biggest case right now, because Trey Lance only did so much last year, and he only played in a game or two and had a few plays last year. He showed some promise, he just needs more time to develop, and as of right now, it looks like that they're trying to really perk up Trey Lance, and they might have, like I said, they might have a little bit too much confidence in Trey Lance if they are going that route. Now, speaking of trust, Cincinnati Bearcats are extending their head coach, Luke Fickell, all the way through 2028, and he is getting paid $5 million per year all the way through that season of 2028. And Luke Fickell completely put Cincinnati on the map the last couple of years. They got to the college football playoff, which was a complete surprise because Cincinnati is not the type of team that we're used to seeing in the college football playoff, let alone in the top 25 as a rank. But that just shows how dominant of a coach Luke Fickell is, and we may have a new college organization on our hands to watch for the years to come and see how dominant they can be. Can Luke Fickell and the Cincinnati Bearcats run it back? Because they are also losing their all-star or all-American quarterback in Desmond Ridder because he is a senior. Now, what is Luke Fickell able to do with new players? Because we are going to find out very quickly come the 2022-2023. Because as of right now, Cincinnati has all the trust in the world with their new head coach. Now, speaking of trust, the Los Angeles Angels have every reason to distrust a former employee, Eric Prescott Cake, because as of recently there has been reports that Eric has given drugs to four other MLB players, and it's oxycodone. And what is going on? Like, we're going through this again because Eric also is the one that gave these kind of drugs to Tyler Skaggs, and he overdosed on this drug a matter of a couple years ago. So, what's going on? Because this is kind of scary, because now we got even a few more players back in this position of where they might accidentally overdose, because a few of these players have said they don't like how this stuff makes them feel. And if it's in that case, this whole situation is about to escalate to a whole new level, and he's already being charged with conspiracy charges and a couple other things. Now, I'm hoping that the MLB can figure this out as quickly as possible, because we already have enough of where a season is bound to get short due to this lockout. They are coming, the MLB and MLBPA are coming closer and closer together and figuring it out on what to agree on. And this lockout, as of what they just recently agreed on a draft lottery and universal designated hitter, that's a positive sign that we could still potentially have a full season, because we still got a month and a half before the season starts. And I have full confidence that Rob Manfred is able to figure this out after what he has done. Now, I'm hoping that these players do not go through what Tyler Skaggs did, because he did overdose on fentanyl, alcohol, and oxycodone a couple years ago in a Dallas hotel room after they just traveled there. That was supposed to be a 4-game series against the Texas Rangers. If this happens again, the MLB is in a huge predicament on who they need to trust, because this guy, Eric Prescott, he's not an employee in the MLB at all, yet he is still giving the players the same stuff of what he gave to Tyler Skaggs. This is a scary situation right now, and I'm hoping that the MLB can figure this out as quickly as possible. Now, let's get out of this sad news real quick and talk about some funny news real quick, because James Harden accidentally slipped up a little bit. He didn't file paperwork for an opt-in for the 76ers in time for the 2022-2023 season, and with that, who knows if he's going to be able to play it all next year, even though he just got to Philadelphia. And according to James Harden, apparently before he even went to Brooklyn, Philadelphia was his first choice. Now, as like I said, can James Harden be and help out, maybe be Allen Iverson 2.0 and finish the deal of what all Philadelphia basketball fans have been hoping for and get that championship? You got Tobias Harris, who's getting 20 points a game. You got an MVP caliber player in Joel Embiid. You got Thibault, who is an absolute phenomenal defensive player. So, can James Harden lead them to the promised land? I think he can, but we'll see how this offensive style is going to play. Now, speaking of Philadelphia, let's get a backtrack on this trade and with Seth Curry and Andre Drummond and Ben Simmons. Andre Drummond and Seth Curry played their first game as a Nets player, and it's going to be that way as Kevin Durant's injury is slowly and hopefully he can get back as quickly as possible from his injury, because they ended up whooping the Sacramento Kings by 24 points. If they can do that without Kevin Durant or Ben Simmons, even though Ben Simmons hasn't played for the Brooklyn Nets yet, this could be still a scary team, because Seth Curry can shoot. He's just as accurate as his brother, and just a tad bit more based on percentage, more accurate than his brother. But we all know Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time, and nobody will be better than him until we see it, because we obviously know he revolutionized the game on the way you shoot and where you shoot the ball. Now, let's get into some more basketball. Kansas absolutely put an absolute whooping on Oklahoma State. But here's an interesting thing about Oklahoma State. Former assistant coach Lamonte Evans was arrested a couple of years ago, and he got 3 months in prison. And because of this, Oklahoma State had to do some appeals, and they nearly got it, but unfortunately it was denied. And that is going to bite Oklahoma State's March Madness chances, because because of all this entire situation of what Lamonte Evans did, is going to make them miss out on the 2022 postseason. And who knows, maybe Oklahoma State could be another Cinderella story, because March Madness is the definition of that. But with Kansas, in the first half, Oklahoma State was giving them a little bit run for their money for the first 17 minutes. But as soon as that 3-minute mark hit and until all the way the rest of the game, Kansas continued to absolutely trash the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And what Kansas State has done is they have won their 10th conference season of the game. And what's even more impressive about it is that they are now and have achieved 27 straight seasons of 10 plus conference game seasons. That just shows you how dominant of a program Kansas has been ever since they started playing basketball. And it is a basketball school, as we all know. And they are number 6. Let's see how far they can go this year, because they haven't won the big one in a very long time. And we're getting closer and closer to March Madness, because now we are only 28 days away from March Madness. Who's going to win it all? who's going to have a Cinderella story and who is going to be the most surprising team, most entertaining team in March Madness this year, because we all are always surprised every single year. Because, for example, last year, 15 Oral Roberts University upset number 2 seed Ohio State, and no one obviously saw that coming because it's 2 against 15. But as we all know, Cinderella story right there, that's March Madness, as we all know. All right, that's the end of the Calvin Tobin Show. Please subscribe to me on YouTube at Calvin Tobin Show for all sports media, and please follow me on Instagram at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports media whatsoever.